A new article from the Wall Street Journal is titled "Price Tag of Bernie Sanders Proposals is 18 Trillion," and the subtitle is "Democratic Presidential Candidate's Agenda Would Greatly Expand Government." Now, in that article, they state Sanders backs at least 18 trillion in new spending over a decade, according to a tally by the Wall Street Journal, a sum that alarms conservatives and gives even many Democrats pause. Now, before I address that claim, let's just take into account the absurdity that, never mind the fact that the GOP candidates, with the exception of Donald Trump, all want to give more tax breaks to billionaires, and never mind the fact that they want to shred the nuclear deal with Iran on day one, presumably so that way they can invade the country, which is not going to cost nothing. And never mind the fact that they are all pledging to increase military spending when 57% of our total discretionary spending already goes to the military-industrial complex. But since Bernie Sanders actually wants to do something to help the people, well, now we want to talk about the price tag of someone's policies. Well, all right, let's do that. So they are correct that the price tag of Bernie Sanders' policies will be 18 trillion, about that much. But what they forgot to mention to you guys is just one inconvenient little fact. The real cost to us will be, wait for it, $0. And that, believe it or not, is just the conservative estimate. According to US Uncut, a top economist says that Bernie's policies will actually save us $5 trillion. Now, how in the hell is this possible? Well, unlike Republicans, Bernie Sanders is not going to put these policies on our credit card. He actually has a plan to pay for all of his policies. So I'll give you some examples. He will save 32 trillion by ending regressive healthcare. We will save 3.5 trillion by easing stock market volatility. If we close corporate loopholes, that will save us $900 billion. By restoring the estate tax for our top 0.3%, that's going to give us $319 billion. If we end polluter welfare, then that will give us $135 billion. Now, what he's talking about there is ending subsidies to the fossil fuel industry. So don't believe the misleading headlines about Bernie Sanders. The fact is that every policy he's proposed is supplemented by a method to fund it. Case in point, he wants college tuition to be free, and he plans to fund that by doing a transaction tax on Wall Street. It's very, very simple. If we reallocate subsidies and funds for things that are just unnecessary or absurd, then we can actually pay for these policies. So the fear-mongering that Bernie will spend and turn us into the next Greece is completely unfounded. Now, I'm going to blow all of their minds at the Wall Street Journal. This is kindergarten economics. If you invest in the middle class, hear me out, if you invest in the middle class and the lower class and you increase their purchasing power, what will happen is, wait for it, I'm going to blow your minds, the economy will improve for everyone. Because it's not so crazy that if poor people have more money, well, they're going to spend it on things and stimulate the economy. But if you do trickle-down economics and all of the wealth is centered in the hands of 0.1%, well, they have so much money, they can never spend it, so they're just going to keep it in their bank accounts. But when you free up that money and you tax them, then you help the aggregate economy. It's so simple. I don't get how anyone could be against it. So the real question Wall Street Journal should be asking is how the Republicans plan to pay for their policies, because they want more tax cuts for the rich. They want to fund more wars that are completely unnecessary. But they won't do that because that would require them to be real journalists. And of course, as we all know, the Wall Street Journal works for Wall Street. So they don't want this dude who's going to come in here and shake up the status quo and actually put some regulations on Wall Street that we desperately need. But when it comes down to it, I am not even mad. I hope that these attacks keep coming because they've got nothing on Bernie Sanders. They're grasping for straws here, and they're being intentionally misleading, and they're trying to fearmonger about Bernie Sanders' policies. They're trying to use boogeyman words such as socialism. But guess what? The American people are finally starting to wake up. And that just tells me that all of these attacks means that they are scared, and they should be.